Welcome to the Less Stressed Lawyer Show.
Hello and welcome to the Less Stressed Lawyers Show with Miss Olivia Vizachero. Olivia is a former attorney turned life and business coach for lawyers. She helps ambitious attorneys stop overthinking, set boundaries, and take bold action so they can build a practice and life they actually love. I'm Evan Mack, and today we're talking about why so many lawyers feel stuck and what it really takes to get them unstuck. This is Why Lawyers Feel Stuck and How to Get Unstuck. Hello, Miss Olivia.
Hello. So excited to be here.
Excited to see you. So what kind of led you from kind of practicing law into what your goals are for this podcast?
So I tell everyone that everything that I coach my clients on now, I used to struggle with. So I ended up in big law, sort of for all the wrong reasons, what my parents thought, seeking approval, kind of chasing that prestige. And when I got there as a first year associate, I really looked around and realized very early on that what did I do? I'm in the wrong place. This isn't for me. And I was feeling very overwhelmed, very stressed, and I was struggling with a bunch of different skill sets that attorneys really need to have in order to be successful, especially in that type of environment. But we don't learn any of those skills along the way. So I struggled with people pleasing, procrastination, setting boundaries, perfectionism, all that stuff. Really had a difficult time with managing my time, especially dealing with competing deadlines and working for multiple attorneys. And it just led me to struggle. And if I'm being really honest, it was the first time in my life I had ever really struggled with anything. I was good at school. I had worked at a law firm throughout law school where I worked with the firm's managing partner. And I'm really good working with someone as their right-hand person, but dealing with competing deadlines and multiple different attorneys that I was reporting to was really a challenge for me. So I knew I wanted to make a change. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I just started binge listening to podcasts about entrepreneurship, about personal development, just anything to sort of inspire me to figure out what might come next. And I stumbled upon a podcast where a woman was talking about working with a life coach, and she talked about her coach's podcast. It was called the Life Coach School Podcast. And she had a story very similar to mine where she ended up in corporate America for the same reasons: family approval, prestige, financial security, as they say. And she ended up leaving, starting her own business, and was making 7 figures a year. I'm like, sign me up. How do I do that?
Yeah.
I guess I should go listen to this coach's podcast. And when I got over there, everything she said resonated with me. I was feeling really stuck myself. And the first thing I learned from her was that everything we have in our life is the result of a choice we make, or everything we don't have in our life is also the result of a choice we make. And I really felt like I got pushed into this career path sort of against my own choosing. And she was very straightforward and said, that's not what happened. You chose this. Explore your reasons for why you chose it. And at that time, that's when I really learned that I was a people pleaser. I didn't really have a name for it at the time. Yep. So I started listening to her episodes about perfectionism and procrastination and just how to feel better, how to dial down your own stress levels and reduce a lot of the overwhelm. And very quickly, I started to feel better. And it took me longer to develop the skills. I applied some of what she taught and did a lot of my own trial and error, figuring out what worked best for me. But as I started to feel better and then show up better at work, I started looking around me, and everyone else that I worked with was struggling in a similar way.
Right.
And I just felt like I had the secret to the universe. I know that sounds so cheesy, but I really wanted to share it with people, that feeling stressed isn't just part of being a lawyer, that you don't have to bring work home with you or always feel like you're not doing enough, and struggling with, like I said, the skills that law school doesn't teach us or the firms that we work at don't teach us. So I felt really compelled to bring this to lawyers, and I decided to become certified as a coach and left in 2019 and went full-time in my business. And I've been coaching lawyers ever since.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So, but many attorneys, they hit that traditional milestone and they feel unfulfilled. Some of them do. What drives that disconnect since with your experience and all the things that you know?
1000%. I see that all the time, and it happens for a couple different reasons. Number one, I think that practicing law is oftentimes just very different from what people expect. So one of the things that I see with my clients is that they come up with this idea to go to law school and they think they know what it's going to be like, but they make this decision based on really incomplete information, right? Maybe what they see on TV or They know someone who practices law and it kind of looks glamorous and really exciting. So they pursue this career path and then they actually get into it and it's different from what they thought it was going to be.
Right.
And they think something's gone wrong. And what I tell them is, it doesn't necessarily mean that there's a problem. You've just gained additional information. And now you get to make a more informed decision on,
Right.
does this actually align with my preferences or not?
Hmm.
Sometimes it does. Sometimes you just need to reset your expectations and say, oh, there are parts that I love. There are parts that I don't love. That's going to be true with any career that we pursue. But I think it just is a mismatch between what they expected and what their lived experience is. And that leads to a lack of fulfillment. I also think that they're so focused on the destination that they forget about figuring out how to enjoy their day to day. And when we reach the destination, our brains are tricky. So we reach the milestone and we're already on to the next thing, right?
Mhm.
So the enjoyment or the satisfaction is really fleeting. And they think it's going to be amazing and it's going to last and they're going to be able to bask in it. And they're not actually able to do that because their brain's already on to the next thing. So
Mm.
I really encourage people to think about the day to day. How can I structure my life and also celebrate the wins in the day to day, showing up, doing what I said I was going to do, getting those small results rather than only celebrating making partner or, winning at trial. You've got to be able to enjoy the process of it and the journey along the way to the destination.
Mm. So what are some of the biggest signs that an attorney is stuck, whether in their career or maybe in their personal life, kind of going back to what you were saying?
For sure. So, stuck happens for a couple different reasons. And based on the reasons, you'll see the evidence for it and what it actually looks like. So, a lot of times people are stuck, like I was stuck, because they're struggling. They
Right.
don't have skills and they don't have the how in order to make things be better. So, what I'll see is they just wake up every day and they keep doing the same things over and over and over again. And they're like, today I'm going to be better. Today I'm going to, bill 8 hours. Today I'm going to get through my to do list and what I planned to do for the day. Today I'm going to finish that assignment. And then 10 o'clock rolls around and their day's already gone out the window the way that they planned it. And they're just triaging and struggling to keep up and they keep dropping balls. Maybe they're over promising and under delivering because they don't know how to plan their day accurately or set
Mhm.
boundaries. When you're stuck in the stress and the overwhelm for those reasons, you really have to be honest with yourself and say, do I know how to fix this myself? For me, I didn't. So no amount of like trying my hardest would have helped me show up better the next day. There were practical skills that I needed to learn from someone who knew a framework to teach them to me. I wouldn't have been able to
Mhm.
just figure it out on my own. I think other people are stuck because they don't set goals. So when you decide to go to law school, you make a decision really early on and a whole roadmap is laid out for you, right? You have to take the LSAT, you've got to apply to law school, you've got
Yeah.
to go to law school, get an internship maybe, complete your 3 years, study for the
Yeah.
bar, take the bar, pass the bar, all of those things. So you have so many steps and decisions already made for you. And then when you get into your career, the way I described it, what it felt like to me, I felt very adrift, like I had run out of paved road. And lawyers haven't really developed the skill set of asking themselves, what is it that I want? And learning how to answer that really honestly and set that next goal because they've just had the goals sort of set for them.
Mm.
So I really challenge my clients to ask themselves that question. Hey, what is it that you want? Do you want
Right.
to make partner? Why do you want to make partner? Do you like this? Do you not? Do you want to go in a different direction? Do you want to work for yourself? And really trusting their ability to answer that question. Our brains love to serve us up I don't know answers
Right.
as a defense mechanism because if you don't answer the question, then you don't have to do anything about it. But if you trust yourself to actually know what you want and that the answer is inside of you, you don't even have to tell anyone else what the answer is, but just be honest with yourself. And then from there, things start to click into place and you figure out a path forward. And then the other reason that I think people get stuck, it's sort of akin to what I just mentioned, but they don't like what they're doing. So
Mhm.
it's not about setting the next goal in this career, in this industry. It's about getting really honest with, hey, this is different than I thought it was going to be. I really don't enjoy it. I don't like civil litigation. Like for me, I hated doing discovery. It just wasn't sexy. I wanted to be a trial attorney in court all the time. And in order to end up in trial, at least if you're doing civil work, You're doing a lot of discovery and pretrial litigation stuff in order to actually get there. So it was different than what I expected it to be like. And I was just honest with myself that I didn't really want to work for other people anymore. I wanted to work for myself, and I wanted to
Right.
be doing something that felt more impactful. So people
Mm.
have to just be honest with themselves. If they want to make a change, even if it feels super scary, I teach a concept called gag and go. You've got to gag and go through the discomfort. Even if you feel a little sick to your stomach, you've just got to move forward.
Yeah. So you kind of describe yourself as a brass tacks coach. How does that show up in the way you work with the lawyers that are in these, these predicaments?
For sure, in two ways. So when I say brass tacks, first and foremost, I mean that I shoot straight. I don't
Mhm.
sugarcoat things. I'm going to say the hard thing. It might not be what people want to hear. I give a lot of tough love, and I do it with, complete service for the client in mind. I'm here to support them and stand for their dreams and the life they want. I like to say that I help people create lives they're obsessed with, not just ones that look good on paper
Right.
or sound good or that are just okay. I really think everyone deserves to live a life that they're obsessed with, including having a practice they're obsessed with if that's the industry that they're in. And in order to do that, I can't be your best friend. I can't
Mhm.
tell you what you want to hear. I can't agree with you if you've got a really entrenched story that's keeping you stuck sort of in victim mode. So I'm going to say the hard things. The other thing that makes me a brass tacks coach, though, is that I am very specific. So I was the flowchart girl in law school.
Mhm.
And my brain just works like that. It works in
Right.
a process, it finds patterns, it has the ability to break things down very specifically. So, one of the things that I see people struggle with is that they're just confused. They don't know what to do, so they don't do anything differently, or they know what to do, but they don't do it because they're avoiding whatever discomfort is associated with the action they need to take to move forward. So I'm really good at getting laser focused, coming in with tweezers, so to speak, to get in there and teach them exactly what's holding them back, and then give them processes and frameworks for exactly what they need to do so they don't have to indulge in confusion and keep
Right.
spinning their wheels. They're actually able to implement and start making changes and move forward.
So, Miss Olivia, many lawyers and maybe even people, think changing jobs will maybe fix things for them. Why isn't a new job always the solution? For people.
For sure. I see that a ton. I work with clients who come to me and they're seeking a transition and they think
Hmm.
that's going to solve the problem.
Hmm.
And then they transition. And even before they did, I warned them, hey, this might not be the magic bullet that you think it's going to be. And lo and behold, they find out that it's not. The same problems keep repeating themselves. And that happens for a couple different reasons. The main one is they bring the problems with them. So,
Right.
what created a less than ideal environment in the first place recreates itself in the new place. So, if you're a people pleaser and you think you work in a toxic work environment and they're overworking you and the workplace is the problem, that firm is the problem, you're going to bring your people pleasing to the next place. I see this a lot, especially with anyone who goes in house or who transitions to like a government role. They think, oh, it's a 9 to 5. Like, it's only a 9 to 5 if you let it be a 9 to 5. You have to have boundaries. They will take as much work as you're willing to do for them, however
Right.
many hours a day as you're willing to give. So you really have to solve those problems. Same thing with time management. If you overpromise and underdeliver, you plan your schedule inaccurately, you constantly reshuffle and allow interruptions, and you procrastinate, all of those problems that created workplace issues, maybe conflict with clients or your colleagues, they're going to recreate themselves in the new place as well. So we have to figure out what made the last place not work and then solve those problems, oftentimes developing skills. That doesn't happen overnight, which people don't like to hear. It takes a little while for you to start to make consistent 1% improvements and gain traction.
Mhm.
But as we do that work, it does get better. I also think people will transition to a new role and they're really dissatisfied with their career generally, but they think, oh, making a drastic pivot is too intense or scary or just unknown to them. They don't know what to expect. So they stick sort of with the devil that they know.
Mm.
And they just go to a place that's slightly different, maybe for a little bit more money. But again, it's still not what they enjoy. So they're still in a fit that's not right for them.
Hmm. What first steps do you recommend when someone wants to get unstuck? They feel overwhelmed and they don't know where to begin. What would you tell them?
One of my favorite quotes is that a well-defined problem is a problem half solved. So
Mhm.
I think that's where people should start. You've got to be really clear with what you're struggling with. If it's a skills issue, get clear on what skills you need to develop and be very honest with yourself. Do you know how to fix that yourself? Because just waking up in the morning, telling yourself, I'm going to do better today, isn't a strategy. So you've got to either come up with your own strategy or go find a strategy that someone else has and implement that. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. A lot of people, including myself, have figured this stuff out themselves and are happy to teach it to you. So you can spend a lot less time struggling.
Mm,
But you've got to be clear on what the problem is. Is it you are working for too many people? All right, let's start to reduce that. Is it
right.
that you don't get through your to-do list because you constantly allow interruptions? Figure out why it is that you do that. Is it that you don't make a game plan because you think I won't stick to it anyways? So what's the point? Whatever the problem is, as soon as we get clear on it, we can start to figure out a solution for solving it.
Hmm,
If it's hey, I'm actually kind of good at everything I do professionally speaking. I have the skills. I'm just really dissatisfied. Okay, that sounds like we need to figure out if you're in the right spot and if you want to make a change. So get clear on what you like about where you're at, what you don't like, and what you might prefer instead. I teach a concept called leaving from a clean space, where you walk through three different phases. The first one is being very brass tacks and honest about just the facts of where you work and deciding if the facts align with your preferences. So for me, when I worked in Big Law, the facts would be my salary, the
mhm.
number of hours I was required to bill a year, the fact that I worked in my office 8 hours by myself most days. There wasn't a lot of collaboration,
Wow.
that we staffed on a hierarchy. I didn't love that. Other people do love that because it's very clear where work flows and who answers to who. So there were things about the job that I just didn't enjoy.
Right.
And rather than telling this very negative story, I could look at it pretty factually and say, hey, this just isn't for me, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And then the second step is to say, all right, I'm going to take ownership of my role in creating a less than ideal situation. So, what did you do? What did you not do? What have you struggled with that has led to creating a dynamic that you're not in love with? And then the third is to appreciate what the job gave you. And that lets you leave from a clean place where you're not
Right.
leaving in victimhood and then carrying
Right.
this really negative story with you.
That's well said. That's well said. For anyone listening right now who feels stuck, what's one concrete action they can take today to start moving forward?
I would say pick one thing to focus on or figure out. Is there a decision you need to make? If you need to make the decision, make it. Don't move forward. Don't distract yourself from it. Make the decision. If there's a skill you need to build, identify what that skill is and go find one resource. Don't go listen to 400 podcast episodes to try and figure out what the best tactic is. A lot of things will work for you, but if you stay in what I call consumption mode, just
Mm,
constantly taking in information, thinking you
right.
need to learn more before you implement, I promise you that is not the answer. That's your brain trying to keep you in your comfort zone. So just pick one thing, constrain to it, and focus on solving that problem and be willing to be bad at it at first. One of my favorite things to say to my clients is you've got to be willing to be bad at this for as long as it takes you to get good. But if
Right.
you keep being perfectionistic about it and you make a little progress, but it doesn't go the way that you hoped it would, or you don't see monumental change overnight, then you quit and jump to something else. You're going to keep staying stuck in that cycle. So you've really got to commit to not just starting to work on something, but committing to the finish. And then the other thing that I want to say about what I see when people feel stuck is that they just feel badly every single day.
Right.
And that might look like feeling guilty or feeling inadequate or insecure or constantly worried about the outcome of a case or frustrated with opposing counsel or their clients or their colleagues or just overwhelmed by the sheer amount of work on their plates. If the issue is you kind of like what you do, you just hate how it feels, I really want you to know that's not just the way the practice of law is. It doesn't have to feel like that.
Hmm.
And learning how to feel better is a skill. It's the first skill I learned when I started working with a coach myself. It's the first thing that I teach my clients how to do when they come to work with me, because I deeply believe that everyone deserves to feel better and
Right.
enjoy their life, both at work and outside of work. So see where that negative emotion is coming up. Does it look like you fighting with your spouse when you get home because you're just depleted and fried? Does it look like you snapping at a direct report because they got something late instead of trying to figure out the problem? Does it look
Hmm.
like feeling overwhelmed or inadequate because you never get as much done as you want to get done? Whatever the
Mhm.
case may be, you can learn how to not feel that way anymore. And you can learn how to not feel that way anymore. And it all starts with figuring out what you're thinking about your work and learning how to shift your thoughts. And if you feel better, you will take better action and produce better results, whether that's showing up to the same job and starting to thrive there or making a switch. Whatever it is, it starts with what you think and how you feel. So you can start focusing in on that first, and then the skill building can come later.
Amazing stuff. Thank you, Miss Olivia.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Thank you.
Awesome. And thank you all for listening to today's episode of the Less Stressed Lawyer Show. If you're ready to stop overthinking and start making bold move in your life and your practice, visit oliviavizachero.com. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with someone that might find this information helpful as well. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.